21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Hi, Alex. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. It's great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. So I'm just Googling your office address, and in Miami, a beautiful building you are in. Are you near the beach or?
Yeah, so we're in downtown Miami, in an area called Brickell, and then we're right about 15 minutes from the beach. Very close to the water.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good place to, yeah.
And you have a beautiful building you are in.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Onaindia.
From where are you? I mean, original, your family.
My father's from Spain, and his whole family.
Oh, so you have Europe blood.
Absolutely.
So you are the bridge between the USA and our old mother Europe Union.
Yeah, no, my mother is American and my father's Spanish.
What about summer season and Spain?
I got to get over there soon. I went to Spain a lot when I was younger, but I haven't been recently, and I need to get over there.
Do you have some nice memories? It's a beautiful place.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a beautiful country. Spain is absolutely beautiful.
It is. Yeah, no, growing up, we went to visit my grandparents, my father's parents, a lot. So mostly family time, but I really want to go over there, for vacation and some leisure time.
Hi, Jonathan. How are you, man?
I am doing well. How are you?
Thanks. Very good. I'm wondering, from where are you? How can I pronounce your last name? Yesterday, Alex spoke about his regions. What about you?
Yeah, my last name is Lubic, so my full name is Jonathan Lubic. I was born and raised in Miami. I'm half Brazilian, half American. American on my dad's side, so that's where my last name comes from. And I think it goes all the way back to Croatia, if I'm not mistaken. So
probably.
Yeah,
that's the reason why I'm asking you. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, there's a Croatian heritage and source back there with my name, so that's where that comes from.
So two of you are basically regarding your DNA covering the whole globe.
Yeah, no, I got a lot of
Spanish,
everything.
you're half Brazilian, and so it's very good. It's
yeah,
very
Brazilian American with a lot of others in between.
Great energy. What's your background? Can you tell us more about your business journey and your personal development journey? A small topic.
So I grew, of course. So I grew up as an athlete, and I've always loved sports. It was something that really interested me, and I was always playing growing up and played through high school. And as I was going to university, knew I wasn't going to be a professional athlete or anything like that, but was really interested in the business of sports and really finding a way to work in that. And so when I went to Florida State University, I studied sports management. And so it's really a business degree, but was also a specialization on looking at the sports and entertainment industry. And so really enjoyed that. And as I was in school, I had some internships with a couple different agencies. I was learning a lot about the marketing and public relations side, of sports and business and how that all comes together. And then, after I graduated, was fortunate enough to work for a couple agencies, get some great experience learning from a lot of, veterans with good experience. I also worked with the Miami Dolphins of the NFL down here in their communication staff. And so all of those opportunities really got my feet wet and learning really what I was passionate about. And what I found was I really liked marketing and public relations and telling stories for brands. And so looking ways to not only, amplify a brand story, but then also use athletes and influencers, to tell that story and reach a large audience. That was kind of the impetus for Distinction Agency, which we started 2 years ago. I started with my business partner, Jonathan. And so we, really looked at the agency as we wanted to do a few different things, work with professional athletes, businesses, and social media influencers. We've seen, social media has grown so much over the last few years. And so we've seen a lot of opportunity there. And just been fortunate to work in this space, and had a lot of great experience leading up to this that kind of put me ready to start the company.
I find that I have like an interesting little story, to the point where it eventually started, the agency with Alex, that, I'm very much personally proud of as well. It's a little untraditional in a sense, but at the same time, it does follow certain paths that one would look to follow when getting towards starting their own company. But, in college, I went to college down here in South Florida in Miami. I went to Florida International University. And while I was in college, I worked two jobs because I was essentially paying for college out of pocket. So I was working two jobs as well as being a full-time student. And with that, as you can imagine, throughout college, my workload was pretty hefty, so to speak.
So excuse me, Jonathan, share with the rest of the world the college issue in the US.
As in like the cost of college?
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, no, college
Because
is
there are some countries in Europe where you don't need to pay college at all, but in the States you have pretty high.
Yeah, no, our tuition here in the States is, okay, it could range based on the school you're going to, whether it's a public or private school. But at the end of the day, college isn't cheap. That's what I think the bottom line is. College isn't cheap, and there's a lot of means to be able to pay for it, as simple as being able to get a loan. But we've also seen the impact that's had on those who take loans, way outside of their means, that they end up being, strapped down for years after college, or individuals that have certain talents that are very good in sports, or very smart and very able to get certain types of scholarships. There's are ways to pay for it. For me specifically, the route I took was working two jobs in college. I was fortunate. One of the companies that I worked at also had a college payment program plan that assisted in paying for college a little bit, which kind of took the burden a little bit off my shoulders. But at the end of the day, one of my goals leaving college was to graduate debt free. So with that, I worked two jobs throughout college, and around the clock I was waking up.
Shitty jobs or nice jobs?
I would say both jobs were really good. Both jobs were
cool,
fantastic. I took a lot of career skills and personal skills and growth.
That's great.
With
so
me.
It was not just for the money, but it was your passion as well.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely beyond just the money. There was a lot of experience involved. And it was also great at the end of the day to build a work ethic and, teach myself how to manage different things, because I was waking up at 3 a.m. To go to my first job, which I'd work from like 4 a.m. to 10 in. Then I'd go to classes all day. And then I'd go to my second job around 5 or 6 p.m. and work until later in the evening. So it built a lot of character. It taught me a lot about self-responsibility and time management, and also taught me, how to prioritize the things I wanted to do, and also how to make sacrifices. You make sacrifices for the now that ultimately set you up for the future as well.
Did you experience any differences between you having two jobs and some of your colleagues, just studying?
No, absolutely. I think the biggest difference that I experienced, and I talk about often even now to some of my friends, was the fact that I didn't have a traditional college experience. So I never got to, go out and really party, have a social life. One of the reasons why I got the second job that I did at the time was so I could make friends. I was like, you know what, I'll get a second job. It'll help me pay for college, and I'll get to meet people. Because throughout college, at no point did I ever have the Friday nights. I worked all weekend. I was waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning, so I couldn't, go out partying, see my friends. So my social life was essentially non-existent. So I hear my friends now talking about stories of their college experience, which I think is absolutely incredible. And I still encourage those that have the means necessary to go have a college experience. But for me, that's something that, I had to sacrifice while building my career.
My experience regarding you as a person, listening to the way you are communicating with me, is you are a very positive person. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I right?
I would absolutely say you're right. I mean, I actively choose as a person, to see positivity and move towards the light of more optimism and try to be optimistic around the clock. And I feel that's important, especially whatever circumstances you are in life. I know it's not necessarily easy to always be optimistic and, try to be a happy person, but I think it's important to try. And even while I was in, college, I never dwelled on the fact that I didn't get to do what my friends were doing. I dwelled on the fact that I was learning life skills and I was working and that I was setting myself up for a future. And that to me was one of the most positive things and mindsets I could have had, that without that mindset, I don't think I would have been able to do what I did as long as I did throughout my entire college career.
The first thing I've tried to implement, especially over the last couple of years, is trying to get 1% better each day. And what I mean by that is, you can't go over a mountain in a week or a month, right? It's incremental steps. And so each day I try to get a little bit better at something, whether that's, relating to my clients, whether that's, talking to new prospective clients, whether that's looking at our marketing and PR strategies, or, just even checking in with our team members, like, how can I just get a little bit better today? And using that mindset, I think, has been really important for me. I think the other thing is, I'm my harshest critic. A lot of times I think I'm a little tough on myself, but that's because I'm a perfectionist and I always want to improve. And so I don't get satisfied very easily with just, if we sign a new client, that's awesome. I want to celebrate that. But I also want to keep in mind, like we were talking about earlier, how do we keep all our other clients, or what's the next, obstacle we want to go on? So really being self-aware and being able to look at yourself and say, how can I get better, or what did I do wrong today, I think is really important too. So that's just two things I use. And then, for me, it's also just, checking in with a lot of people in my network as well. Just like, people that, maybe I met at an event, 6 months ago, or, a friend of a friend, just like checking in with somebody, even just a quick text message or a message on Instagram, just always communicating, I think, is really valuable, because I like to learn from other people what's going on in their business and their life, and just, really be top of mind. So those are a few things that I try to focus on. And then I find I do a lot of my great ideas and great thoughts come from being outside. So living here in Miami and near the water, a lot of times I'll just walk around, with the dog a lot of times, and just think. And a lot of my good ideas have come outside. So sometimes if I'm struggling to come up with an idea, I'll step away, close my computer and just go for a walk.
We are all just waiting, changing, well anticipating. Silhouettes are slowly fading. People here are all just waiting, changing, well anticipating. The world was
Tell us something about influencer marketing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
What is it?
So I would say
start with?
at a basic form, it is essentially third-party substantiation, adding additional credibility and going to bat for companies and brands and services. What influencer marketing has been able to do that we've really never seen ever before until social media apps started to exist was that it took the elements of typical product reviews, so people giving reviews of a service and a product, but also added elements of an own influencers or content creators' personal brand and the experiences they have. I think with influencer marketing, it's one thing for a regular person to say they enjoyed the experience with a product or a brand, but an influencer is able to, even to a better degree, articulate that better, paint the experience, paint the picture. And I think that's what's so great, is because oftentimes you see customers who want to buy a product, who want to buy a brand, but they want to know the expectation, or have an expectation of that experience that they'll have with that product or brand. And they want to know as much as they can and ascertain as much information as they can before they make a purchase decision. And I think influencers have been able to close that gap significantly and making customers feel more confident in making a purchase decision or moving forward with a specific brand versus another.
what the brand awareness is for you, especially the word awareness, as you have a sport background, among other forces influenced on your life.
Absolutely. So we look at brand awareness as really getting as many eyes on a business, a service, a product as possible. So building out cohesive strategies to do that. So for example, when we work with an athlete or an influencer, we come up with a campaign, to provide content for the brand. So maybe it's the athlete, taking photos, videos with the product, using it, posting it on their social media channels where they have thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers, and reaching people that way. Also looking at traditional avenues of doing it like public relations. So, setting up interviews like we're doing right now with various types of outlets, whether that's TV, print, online, podcasts, things like that. We also look at obviously just different ways that we can get, brands in the mix, even on the experiential side. During the Super Bowl here in Miami this past year, we had an event where brands were involved. We had some athletes and influencers attended as well. It was a yacht party, and there were also some products on board this yacht. So we had these
Nice,
products
Alex.
in front of
Nice job you have, huh?
yeah, we had these products in front of all these different individuals, and they're taking photos and sharing it on their pages. So that's all brand awareness to us, is how can we get as many eyes on something as
Yeah, sure.
possible, and do it in an efficient and cost-effective manner.
Sure.
When we fell off, when we fell off, when we fell off, when we fell off.
First and foremost, it's about understanding what the goals of the client are and what the problems that they currently have now that are preventing them from, one, achieving that goal, or two, presenting additional challenges that they didn't foresee. And what we're doing at the end of the day is providing them a solution to these problems and providing them with a plan to achieve these goals. And every single client that we work with, all of our strategies and tactics are very personalized to that specific client. So that means we are very much taking the time to understand, who the client is, not only from what the customer sees, but also behind the scenes, what their mantra is, what they stand for, what their company motto really is, and ultimately, who their target audience is, who their target customer is. And then we also analyze a lot of the data that they've put together or gotten themselves to determine, why they've been successful in certain areas and why they haven't in others. Once we're able to really ascertain all that information, we're able to go back to our roster of talent individuals that we work with. And we have a lot of data information with every single individual and talent and influencer and athlete that we work with that allow us to really put together the perfect talent with the brand and ensure that they are aligned with their messaging and the audiences they're reaching. Now, with all that being said, I do want to put the caveat there that not only are we empowering the brands to have effective talent that will ultimately move the needle for them, but we're also aligning with the talent and allowing the talent to ultimately make the final decision on if they will move forward with the brand. Because at the end of the day, you see it all the time. Companies will sometimes hire talent or influencers for the sake of doing it without really looking at who the influencer is, who their audience is, their engagement, or if the influencer is even personally passionate about that product or service or vertical market anyway. That's something we, at the end of the day, make sure we're providing talent that will be a cheerleader for the brand, that will be an extension of the brand, will be a spokesperson, an ambassador, and will ultimately go to bat for the brand because we know their audiences will see the authenticity behind it. And that's what's important to us, is making these authentic connections between the brands and the talent.
We work with professional athletes in various sports, so football, basketball, baseball. We even work with some Olympic athletes in track and field. We work with a professional skateboarder. And then the influencers are individuals in different categories like food, travel, entertainment. And so they're content creators that put out a lot of different content promoting products and various companies and services. And so we help them identify brands they can work with to ultimately use that form of advertising to really increase brand awareness and ultimately sales. So we help those individuals with various things. And then for our business clients, not only do we help them with the athlete and influencer marketing, but we also help them with traditional marketing services like public relations and social media. So, we're a pretty well-rounded organization, and, working with the three groups of people, the athletes, the influencers, and the businesses, we're able to hear a lot from different types of people, and see what resonates, and able to do a lot of cross promotion within the three categories.
Can you share with us a real life example of a problem or a challenge
Problem or challenge as in from a customer
from one
perspective?
of your customer? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll give a little bit high level. Something that we've done often is work with a variety of different food-based brands, like different restaurants, and have put them together with food-based influencers. So foodies, those who have the hundreds of thousands of followers, and all they do is post, the beautiful photos about food, and they highlight different aspects of the restaurants. Oftentimes we're putting together programs for them and partnerships for them, where the problem for that they have is that the restaurant industry, especially in a market like Miami, can be very saturated. A market like Las Vegas, LA, New York, there's a lot of competition for these restaurants, and they have to try everything they can with a limited amount of budget to make sure that they can get customers through the door. And what we're doing is, when we identify the right creator for them, we're really taking into consideration the creator's audience and the type of content the creator is actually posting and the engagement they're getting on that content. That's because not every creator is the same. It's one thing to say you have a food-based influencer, but there's another thing when one influencer does more like bar food, while another influencer does high-end 5-star food, while another influencer only tries to do desserts, right? So we have to identify the exact talent that we can provide for like a restaurant, for example, so they ultimately can see the ROI on their investment.
What was their reaction when COVID started?
That's a great question. So I think every athlete, every influencer, every business was impacted by COVID in one way or another. We've seen it across, in sports. Every sports league stopped. Everything was canceled or postponed. We work with 6 athletes who are attempting to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics. Those were postponed till next year. Obviously, that was, that's a blow. I think everybody was a little disappointed and down about that for a little while. And even from a marketing perspective, some brands told us, hey, let's talk next year. We'd rather work with the athlete next year when the Olympics are coming up. So that was a blow. We work with some hospitality partners who their resorts closed. So that's obviously a factor as well. So I think everybody was impacted in one way or another. I think on the positive end, our business and our services are still needed for individuals during this time. Social media use has never been higher. People are on their social networks and their phones more than they've ever been. So there's a lot of opportunity there, for that increased attention. So there's both positives and negatives. I would say, we've really fought through it. We've pivoted a little bit, looking at some businesses that are doing well during this time and trying to work with them, while keeping in mind that some of our clients right now, it's not a good time to engage because, maybe they're closed, or maybe they had to lay off, half their staff. So it's been an interesting time, but I think we'll come out of this better than we were because, adversity is really where you're tested.
We put on blast for y'all and have a blast with y'all. So I'm blasting off from this catapult, living this life like an animal, killing this mic with my mandible and think a damn I'm full. Back to the night, I'm a dancing fool. Head up to the patio to spark a blunt. She said, where you get those moves? Bargains plus what I need right now.
Is there an impact in pricing? Because there is a difference between being with your clients on the field in the real life versus just doing the gig from whatever part of the world.
Yeah, sure. And I don't want to get, too much into our pricing as well. I'd prefer just to, keep it super high level. But what I will say about it, that, at the end of the day, from our experience, and this goes back to my own personal career over the years, that it's what your clients come to expect are quality results. results that are going to move the needle for the clients. And when you produce great results, pricing no longer becomes an issue because you're producing quality results and you're bringing things to the table, ideas, strategies, tactics that are effective for the brand or effective for the client. And at the end of the day, that's what they want. Is they need to turn a profit. They need to think about the bottom line. And we understand that, from a business standpoint. So it's not just, unicorns and fairies and, pretty pictures and pretty content and pretty influencers. It's providing results that are actually going to be effective. So we don't have to have a conversation, about his price versus their price versus their price. The conversation is, wow, this is great quality work. Let's do more. Let's expand here. Let's do this. Let's do that.
I woke up, I'm blessed and got paid. I'm going in right now today. Shaking and spray. Celebrate life, I'm a king. Celebrate like I won rings. Celebrate hard, let them hate. Elevate to a level they look up and can't say a thing.
Are there any differences in the vibe between your clients from the athletic world and some other clients?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think each
I mean,
athlete
regarding
is
energy
different.
flow and okay. So they're
Yeah,
different.
Each athlete is different. I would say there are some who, basically they trust you to do your job. They want to hear from you when you have an opportunity for them. But they're not really on top of it. They don't need to see updates all the time and things like that you might send to a traditional business client. Then you have other athletes who they want to be copied on the email correspondence. They want to know exactly what's going on, what opportunities are for them. They want to look at interesting opportunities. One thing we've done for a few of our athletes is equity endorsement deals. So rather than looking at, getting paid by a brand, putting that athlete as an ambassador who is a minority shareholder in the company and they receive part equity. So that's another interesting dynamic that not every athlete wants that, because some just want the guaranteed money, and rightfully so. But others would rather go long-term with a company, especially some promising startups. So each athlete is very different, but I would say, it's definitely working with them is different than working with a traditional business owner, because each of them just have different personalities, different goals they want to accomplish, and ultimately, what they're looking for during and after sports.
And who is responsible for the communication? And do you have key account managers, or two of you guys are most of the time in communication with them? Or?
We have a couple account managers in communication with them, and then it's my business partner and I really, just making sure everything's smooth, checking in with everybody, sending them texts, giving them quick calls, just keeping a pulse on everybody and trying to make sure that, we're finding opportunities for everyone too, because that's the other thing with sports marketing is, not every athlete is going to receive the same level of opportunity, right? It does vary. So I think, sorry.
No, it's fine. My dog is sleeping, so I will go with her out when we will in a half an hour or something.
But sorry, I lost my train of thought. But basically, I know what I was trying to say was that each athlete, the opportunities for them will vary based off of who they are and what they're doing off the field.
We are big believers in networking and getting face-to-face time with our clients, with the talent we work with, and even with other individuals within the industry as well. We spend a lot of effort getting to know other agencies, learning the services that other companies are doing and how they can complement our services and how we can complement theirs. At the end of the day, like I said, we do see ourselves as an extension of our clients and their brand. So half the time when we are on the road, going to these networking events, these conferences, trade shows, we're also getting information on behalf of our clients and bringing in, new innovative tactics that we can use for their programs to assure that they continue to see high results and stick out compared to the competition. So yeah, prior to COVID and the coronavirus happening, even this year alone, we were all over the place, all over the country, making inroads and developing some pretty strong relationships that we've continued to foster to this day.
We move right now. Hey,
we move right now. Hey, we so right now. Hey, when you gonna pipe down? Never.
We look at social media as, so there's 4 main platforms that we've typically been using for our clients over the last few years. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and then we've seen TikTok come on the scene recently.
Oh yeah,
and being
sure.
really
Please
popular.
tell me what's going on with TikTok. It's a huge success.
Oh yeah, I mean, we could do a whole nother episode just on TikTok, but yeah, that's really, huge. I mean, there's over 1 billion active users already
A
on that
billion
platform.
already.
Over 1 billion users on the platform, and what we've seen with that is it started with young people, the Generation Z, a lot of teenagers using it. But what we find with social media, and the same thing happened with Facebook, with Instagram, is these platforms age over time. So you get older users as you go. So Facebook initially started with a lot of college kids using it. And now it's a lot of people like my parents' age who are very active on Facebook.
Really?
And so we expect similar things with TikTok over time. And so it's a really interesting platform for businesses to look at right now, because there's a lot of ways to reach people. The organic reach is huge of the platform. You don't have to spend advertising dollars on there like Facebook, for example. So you can reach a lot of people. So it's a really unique platform. People are very authentic. It's not too scripted. Like a lot of times you look at Instagram, you can tell it's a professional photo shoot. Content was really, there was time that went into that. TikTok is more off the cuff, people just creating content and posting it. So it's a really interesting platform.
We certainly are using a variety of different tools and platforms. That's the beauty about modern day technology. They're so advanced that they can provide so much data, information so quickly, and give you essentially a snapshot of the talent and the effect the talent can have. However, it goes beyond that. And I think that's why one of the reasons why our agency is so unique and why we've been so effective for our clients and customers is the fact that there's the people element behind it. Meaning, very much Alex, myself, and other members of our team actively take the time to go through the influencer's profile and have a conversation with the talent. It's only until you're hands-on that you're reading the comments that their fans are writing, that their followers are writing, that you can ultimately get that customer sentiment and get the idea of exactly how effective they're going to be. Because there's certain things those platforms don't necessarily capture. One of those things is the sentiment of the customer, are the comments that are being read. You can very quickly look. It's one thing if an influencer's all their comments are just a bunch of emoji smiley faces, and there's another thing if the influencer comments are, wow, this looks beautiful, this looks nice, let me tag my friend. If an influencer has people commenting and tagging other people, that's a lot more valuable to us and the brand than having an influencer that just has a bunch of smiley faces as their all their comments. So really the only way to see that is to have that human element and have someone like myself, Alex, or other members of our team actively look at the profiles of these creators and take the time to go image by image.
We've used tools like Hootsuite and Sprout Social for scheduling posts. So you can go in and kind of schedule the month of the post for brands or an athlete and an influencer. And obviously you have to go in there from time to time and edit things based off situations that are going on in the world, or a brand wants to change a certain piece of content. So we use those to kind of schedule and monitor activity. On the influencer marketing side, we use a few tools as well. One is called Flanks, another is called Hype Auditor. What those are really good at is kind of auditing the audience of an influencer or an athlete to see, where are all their followers based? What does the demographic look like? Are these real followers? Are they bots? So we can get really in there to see what the audience looks like. And then that's really helpful when we're talking to the brands, because we can recommend, individuals accordingly based off of that back end information, which is really valuable.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
What are your company's advantages?
I would say absolutely. I would say it is an advantage compared to some of the the companies that are so bottom line focused, and so number oriented, and just approach this as a numbers game, as in they try to go after as many people, as many companies as they can, throw out a big net and take back what they catch. For us, it is because we're more hands-on and more tailored. I do feel it's an advantage, because even some of the conversations we have with brands, what I'll often do, and I actually had a conversation today like this, is I'll talk to a company and I have no problem just giving free advice for an hour on the call and telling them exactly what they have to do to be successful. And if they don't work with us, they don't work with us, or they do work with us. You know, I get it. That's ultimately the decision of these companies, that they have to prioritize differently. And we just want to be a resource to them. And I think that becomes an advantage, because at the end of the day, these companies see that, and they just see that our focus is ultimately at providing results and moving the needle, that they, decide to partner up with us.
And what about your organizational structure?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my business partner and I really oversee everything. We, spearhead all of our efforts with business development and client relations with the clients we work with. And then we have some talented individuals, in each department, whether it's athlete marketing, influencer marketing, social media, public relations. And our team's really young. We've looked at it that, marketing has evolved over time, and that, a lot of the strategies that worked 10, 15, 20 years ago aren't working as much now. So we really have embraced innovation and being a young team. And, we're still being 2 years old, we're still pretty relatively young company. And so there's a lot of collaboration, and we really try to just let everybody have a voice and come with new ideas. I mean, that's really what it's all about for us.
Great approach. How did you choose them?
Yeah, so it's been a few different ways, honestly. A lot of the, individuals we started working with, we've had some interns come on that, we started working with and seeing what they could do, and then have kept them on long term. Other people have come through recommendations, or people that we met at events like a trade show. So it's been a few different ways, but what we've found too, especially I think during COVID-19 and this pandemic, our team's been working remotely, is that we don't need everybody in the office to be successful. With
Sure.
technology and ways of collaboration, with social media and phones and Zoom, we can do a lot of different things, without even just being in the same room, which I think is really powerful.
Do you have VAs? Or
No, we have
you have just full-time employees, or how what's your
we have
business model?
we have some that are close to full, and then we have part-time and interns, but we don't use
Okay.
VA.
Okay, that's very good. That's very good. So you are, I suppose, more focused, and you have a quality level that you want to have for your clients.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that's been really important to us is that, my business partner and I are involved in every client's program. We know what's going on. We're involved in the strategy. We don't want to bring on clients and then just send them off to, somebody who, doesn't have the experience that we do. So we try to be really involved, in every client program.
So if you can share with us your sales model, what's your approach? Is it a consultative sales, or what kind of
Right.
model are you using?
I would say there would probably be, the model would be best, I guess, from a consultant lens, but I wouldn't necessarily it's 100% that. For us, it really does come down to having these conversations with these brands and ascertaining what their problem is, what their goals are. Because for us, like I said, it's all about the results you end up bringing at the end of the day. The results do the talking for themselves. And I think a good example of that, of a company that does that very well, is Apple Computers, for example. They say, you walk into their stores, none of their people are salespeople, because the products sell themselves. The iPhone, the laptop, they all sell themselves. What their customers are there to do is bridge the gap, or not the customers, I mean, the workers on the floor, the retail employees are there to do, is to bridge the gap between what the customer's problem is and what the customer is looking for, with the solution that they provide as well. And I would say that's very much, our, quote unquote sales strategy as well, is just identifying what the problem is from the customer, because everything we do is so highly tailored to our clients that there is really no traditional sales model of, well, it has this and it has that and it has all these bells and whistles. It's more of like, this is what we can provide for you, and these are our results that speak to our services.
Is it easier to work with a partner or to work by yourself?
Mm-hmm. My opinion on that, I think it's more of it goes by person. It's a lot of self-awareness. I feel that they genuinely are people who do better on their own, that a partner would slow them down. Even a partner on the same page with them would slow them down. For me, thus far, I've found that having a partner has only made me better. It's allowed me to have someone to ideate with, and put together strategies and plans with. So for myself, I see that when it comes to developing and growing a business, it's a positive aspect for me to have a partner. And I think it's the same way with Alex as well. But at the same time, like I said, I think it ultimately comes down to self-awareness and being able to understand how you operate. Because there are people out there, like I said, who they can only do it by themselves. They need to be the single leader of the company. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And those companies, as we've seen throughout history, become wildly successful as well. So it can go either way. But for me, I think, having a partner is what works best for me.
I think we both are go-getters and know how to sell. My background is more the marketing and the PR. His background is more of sales. And I think what's happened is we've had to learn from each other to become more well-rounded. So I know I've become a much better salesperson running this company because as a co-founder and a CEO, your job is also, in my eyes, chief salesman, right? You got to know how to sell to anybody when they ask you, who you are and what you do. And then on the flip side, he's had to learn a lot on the marketing and the PR side from me. So I think we complement each other really well. We're both young and hungry. I think that helps too. There's not really an age gap or anything like that. So yeah, I think we complement each other well, and we've tried to learn from each other in ways we might have been deficient a few years ago, and ultimately have become more well-rounded.
Is it better having the partner than working alone?
I think so. Absolutely. There's so many instances where you just want a second opinion on something, whether that's reviewing a contract or discussing how you want to approach a certain situation with a client, or even just you want to take a few days vacation and you need somebody to cover for you and oversee the company. So I think there's a lot of benefits to working with somebody.
About Alex as a person and a colleague, are there any similarities? Are there any differences between you and Alex?
I'd say our personalities definitely complement each other. We're the same in all the ways that you should be the same with a business partner. I would say, we have the same goals in what we want to do, where we see the future of the agency. We have the same, methodology and management and beliefs in managing a team and the way you treat your employees. We have the same beliefs in that. We have the same beliefs when it comes to prioritizing the goals of our clients and what we ultimately have to do to be successful for our clients. And I think it's really important that, if you have one business partner or three business partners, that those pillars are essentially the same across the board. So you reduce the chances of miscommunication and you don't confuse your employees, you don't confuse your clients. If you have the same beliefs, you can build a strong foundation. And I also think we're different in all the right ways that kind of go back to our backgrounds of previous roles we did in our careers. Like I said, my foundation being more primarily business development, while his has always been client facing and actually execution of a lot of these services, that we have a lot of complementing elements there that we can both speak to, that I think our clients really appreciate, because he's able to empathize with clients in a certain way that I may not necessarily be able to, given his experience. And because we take a lot of these client calls together and because we build out these plans as a team, we offer different perspective for each other that we're able to put into context, which I think is important and why we have such, a good relationship, that not only do we have a good business partnership relationship, but we ultimately have a very good friendship.
What was your tipping point? Was it any tipping point when everything started looking better than it was at the beginning?
That's a great question. So I think for us, we've been in business 2 years, and I think right around the end of the first year is when we really started to get some momentum, working with some great athletes, some great influencers, and we're really starting to work with some big name companies. I think that was the turning point for us, because we work with both large businesses and startups and really everything in between. But we started working with a few big name companies that really, I think, turn things for us. And it's a momentum business. If you do good work for one athlete, it leads to three more. An example I can give you is we started working with 2 track and field athletes, and I think we've done some good work for them. And now we work with 6, and the word kind of spreads in that community. So that's really what I think it is just providing good work and ultimately being a friend and more than just a business relationship is really important.
If we can just wrap up all that you spoke about, you giving yourself into the relationship building and business development, and for the purpose of helping new young entrepreneurs learn something from that field as well, what are the personality traits you think are important from your perspective, as well as if you can mention, well, it's stupid to say top 5 skills, but some of the most important skills from your perspective?
Mm-hmm. So I think for me, and what I would tell, younger individuals that are looking to enter in the same space, whether it is taking on a role of business development or a leadership role as a whole, are a couple things that you have to understand are kind of the reality of the business world and life. You got to be able to learn how to, listen to no. You got to be able to take no. I think you hear a lot of people that when they're told no, they take it personally. And you have to learn, in business, not to take it personally, and that everyone has their own plans, their own agenda. And sometimes the timing just isn't right for a potential client or someone to network with, and they'll tell you no. And it's important to be able to move past that. And I think that rolls into my other thing, which is, not to beat yourself up over things. I feel like, a lot of people will issue a lot of self-punishment to themselves if they don't hit the quarterly goal, or they don't get the client they're trying to get, or get the deal, or do the campaign successfully. That there's a lot of self-punishment that can lead to a lot of negative aspects that ultimately will just affect your life across the board negatively. I'm a big believer in being able to reward your successes, reward your progress, have enough self-awareness to acknowledge when you are doing well, but also be able to learn from the no's and any of the negativities and the failures. Because what they say, one of life's greatest teachers is failure. And by embracing that, you can't beat yourself up over failures, over hearing no. And I would say, to look at failure as an opportunity to have a lot more humility and to learn from it. But don't feel bad that when you are successful at something, you do something good, celebrate it. Be happy about that. And even from something in business development, which is so deeply rooted in sales, celebrate the deals you get, celebrate the deals that you close. I think that's important. That, they always say you're only as good as the last deal that you did. And oftentimes people spin that in a negative way and be like, all right, I closed the deal today, but tomorrow it restarts and I'm back to like being unhappy or like, grinding out. I'm like, hey, the next day, start grinding again. Look for that next deal, but celebrate the deal you just had. Celebrate the closes, celebrate the wins. Because like I said, you don't live to work, you work so you can live, right? And that's really, really important. And something that I tell younger individuals is, don't beat yourself up over the negative things. Learn how to deal with no. And I think finally, don't have too hard of an expectation of how life should go. And I think we see that a lot with younger generations, especially those like you go through high school and you have an expectation of the certain college you have to get in. And if you don't get into that college, your life is over. And then after college, if you don't get into that specific role in your industry, life is over. And what I've learned is that life isn't linear by any sense of the word, and that you need to be open to adapting and being able to take on different opportunities. And really quick on my own personal life, coming out of college, my goal out of college was to go to graduate school for public relations. And that was my plan between the graduating college and then the fall of graduate school. That was my plan, was just to prepare for that. But I took an internship that summer, and it was for a business development role that I was really, really good at, that company ultimately offered me a full-time job, which required me to go through my linear path and go a different direction. And I was able to embrace that and find success in it. And I think it's important for younger generations and younger kids, and really anyone of any age, to embrace that mentality of that life isn't linear, and that you need to be ready to pivot. And what you ultimately think is your destiny may not necessarily be, but to, follow what makes you happy, and don't beat yourself up over if it's not the path that you thought it should be.
What about your KPIs? Do you have any key performance indicators, and how do you define them in such a specific dynamics of your business growth?
Yeah, so I think we obviously have key performance indicators for our clients. For our business, I think that really comes down to setting goals. So like one thing we do is really try to sit down every quarter, every 2 quarters, and review everything that's going on, and then make a game plan for what's next. And those KPIs, I think, adjust over time. I know in the beginning, the levels of growth we were striving for were much smaller than they are now. So I think it really comes down to each business owner and each entrepreneur, what they want to achieve. For us, I think it's, our most important things are obviously client growth, so bringing on new clients, and then also client retention is huge. It doesn't matter if you're bringing on a lot of clients if you're losing all the ones that you had previously, right? Sure. So I think, even more important than growth is retention. If you can keep those clients that you've been working with for a while and keep them happy, that number one, they're going to be your biggest advocate to new clients. A lot of times we get asked, oh, can we speak to a reference? Before somebody will sign with us, oh, can we speak to another one of your clients? So that's really important for us, is retention.
All I say, I think Alex probably covered it the most, but our website, distinctionagency.com. You can reach out to us there. You can reach out to us on Instagram @DistinctionAgency, Twitter @DistinctionAge, Facebook Distinction Agency, LinkedIn Distinction Agency. We are on all the big social media platforms, but outside of our agency as a whole, you can follow me as well on social media. On Instagram, I love this, is my favorite part, but my handle is @WolfOfMiami on Instagram, Wolf of Miami for Twitter as well, Wolf of Miami for TikTok as well. You can find me on LinkedIn, just say my name and I connect with everyone on LinkedIn. And all I'd say is that we encourage not only businesses and influencers to reach out to us, but any individual who just wants to learn a little bit more about the marketing industry or about the services we offer, or even for personal growth. We're always taking calls with those, even kids coming out of college that just need some advice and thoughts, or companies that aren't necessarily, someone we can work with, but because we have really great experience in the space, we can give them advice. And I think a good example of that is we don't necessarily do a lot of B2B marketing for clients. So with that, if a company needs that, I can still give them advice on it and my thoughts, and then recommend them to an agency we know or a partner of ours that we know. But we're open to anyone, absolutely reaching out with us and having a conversation, and ultimately growing our network as much as we want others to do so as well.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Thank you you for listening to today's episode